Good morning, fellow Hoops fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV. As always, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. We have a hell of a lot to talk about today because the greatest soap opera on earth, the NBA, continues to roll on and provide many storylines for us to discuss and dissect right here. And of course, it's Wednesday morning, so we're going to bring on our resident betting expert, two-time NBL champion, the magic man himself, Mr. Andrew Parkinson. Parky, Jesus Christ, there's a lot happening over there in Brooklyn land, isn't there?
How great is the NBA? I'm not a reality TV watcher myself, because if you're an NBA fan, you don't need any other reality TV.
That's exactly right.
This stuff, but this stuff is not scripted. A lot of the reality TV is scripted, as we know. But this stuff is just great. Look, the Nets gave us a lot of material in the off season with Durant's trade demands, and he wanted to get rid of the GM and he wanted to get rid of the coach. Well, I guess one of those things has happened. 7 games in, they're 2-5, and the Nets have said bye-bye to Steve Nash.
Yeah, like you said, Parky, it just seems with the Nets, each storyline just keeps getting wilder and wilder, than the previous one. As you mentioned, Steve Nash is no longer the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. According to Woj from ESPN, apparently it was a mutual decision. They both, which I find hard to believe, but they're saying that they both agreed to part ways because they said that it was clearly not working. Jacques Vaughn, who was an interim head coach, I think it was prior to Steve Nash coming in as well, but he's been a Nets interim coach before. Jacques Vaughn will take over for the moment, and then again, Woj and Shams and all the major guys over in the US are reporting that Ime Udoka, who was suspended by the Boston Celtics for 12 months, will be the next head coach. They're saying that will be finalized in the next 24 to 48 hours. Apparently, the Boston Celtics will not stand in the way of Ime Udoka if he finds another head coaching job. And look, Parky, I've said this before, and it was one of my sort of questions about the Nets heading into this season. If you remember, I actually thought they would probably be doing a lot better than 2-5. And there's still time for them to turn that around. But they're 29th in defense in the league right now, which is what they're hoping Udoka can fix. Part of the questions around Steve Nash was, I didn't think he was that good of a head coach anyway. And now he's gone. Ime Udoka coming in. Is he going to be able to right the ship?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure that's with this mess. I mean, look, from the beginning, Kyrie and KD were always talking about how, well, Kyrie in particular, I think, said famously, we don't need a coach. So, I mean, when you've got a player, that's, one of your best players on the team, telling everyone we don't really need a coach. We don't really need you, Steve. And look, he wasn't a fan of Steve Nash anyway. I mean, there's a famous story about how when Nash had the Nets over, had a few of the boys over to his place, and Kyrie allegedly walked in saying, "Oh, where do you keep Kobe's MVP trophies?" Because a lot of people feel that Nash, with his the MVPs that he got, Kobe probably deserved them, and you may have a case there, but in saying that and showing that disrespect, for your coach, it's quite clear that KD and Kyrie had no respect for Steve Nash as a coach. And I mean, we saw in the off season, as we've already mentioned, KD wanting to get rid of him. Just yesterday or the day before this announcement, Kyrie was talking about how he and KD are teachers and they're great teachers. I don't think they're great teachers. I don't think they're great leaders. They are unbelievable basketball players, but they need a coach. And to answer your question, they need a coach that can come in and help with the defense. In particular, as you mentioned, their defense is terrible. So I don't know how Coach Udoka is going to come in and wave a magic wand and all of a sudden they're going to be great at defense, because they're struggling having Claxton and Ben Simmons on the floor at the same time, who are their two best sort of defenders, rim protectors and on-ball defenders. But they can't play those two guys together because they lose too much in offense. So yeah, Coach Udoka's got a bit of a job on his hands. But look, he was there earlier, before he took the Celtics job. He was there earlier. So he does have a rapport with them. And look, there's no doubt that KD and Kyrie co-signed on this deal, but it's just whether they're going to let Coach Udoka coach. I mean, if they let him coach and they buy into his defensive approach to the game, like the Celtics did last season, and you saw where that took them, then this could work. But I just don't see this working. I don't know about you, Nick.
Yeah, well, they're saying that part of the reason they're also bringing in Udoka is that he's a voice that the players are going to respect, because when KD and Kyrie both came in, and obviously Kenny Atkinson was the coach at the time, they felt like he was a little bit sort of too authoritative, if that's the word. And then they obviously bring in Steve Nash, who they thought was more of a player's coach, even though he was a first-time head coach. So they're hoping Udoka can come in and have that sort of, be able to command that presence in the locker room. He's also coached Ben Simmons when he was assistant with the Philadelphia 76ers. Look, he worked some magic, I guess, with the Celtics last year after that slow start that they had. But I also think that Celtics squad had obviously been together longer, and was more sort of open to being coached, I guess. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's talk about another team right now that's had a slow start, Parky, and they were the favourites heading into this season for the NBA championship. We'll get into the odds for that a little bit later on. But right now I want to ask the question, are the Clippers clipping? Now, they won yesterday, but it took a miracle shot from Paul George there in the corner pretty much to seal that win over the Houston Rockets. They've started the season 2-5. So they had a 4-game losing stretch after winning their first 2. They lost to the Suns, OKC twice, got smashed by the Pelicans. Ty Lue had said, we are not a very good basketball team right now, and we've got to change that. We've all got to be better. Look in the mirror and not at the window. To be 27th in the league in scoring, that's terrible with all the talent that we have. Marcus Morris said this team is still trying to find an identity. They've taken like a load management sort of view with guys like John Wall. Obviously, Kawhi still having his injury concerns. He's missed quite a few games this season already. I think he's missed 5 of 7, Parky. He's been on the court for only 42 minutes this season. Are the Clippers clipping?
Well, yeah, I think they are. But look, I still think they're the best team in LA.
Yeah,
we just
that's not saying much, Parky.
Yeah, exactly. We just saw some vision there. A tweet of the Lakers celebrating their first win, pouring some. They went a bit over the top there, but in context, it was Darvin Ham's first win, so I think that's what they were celebrating. But still, back to the Clippers. Yeah, look, they were very lucky not to be 2-5, as you said. Paul George scored 5 points in the last 45 seconds to steal that game. They were down 3, 93-90, and they ended up winning 95-90. And that was against the Rockets, who are terrible. So, yeah, they're 3-4. So, it's not panic stations yet. And as you mentioned, load management seems to be the go there. Look, as far as Kawhi goes, look, I've seen Kawhi hit more buckets on that New Balance commercial that we keep watching. Like seriously, I've seen his face and seen him score more buckets on that commercial than I have in about 2 NBA seasons so far. So, yeah, to get him on the floor is going to be a big thing for him. But they're going to have to, maintain like if they dropped, they're 3-4. If they drop too far, behind 500 and don't get a good spot come playoff time, then it doesn't matter if they're healthy. I think they're going to have to get some momentum going. So look, the Clippers, I think they're still championship favourites, which I find a little surprising. But I think a lot of people are putting in the fact that they haven't had their full team together, and once they get that full team, they probably are the deepest team in the NBA.
Yeah, look, I agree. I mean, as of right now, I agree with Coach Ty Lue that they're not a very good basketball team right now. But as we've mentioned, with 7 games into the season, there's another 75 to go. I think ultimately this Clippers team is going to be judged on what they do in the playoffs. Not judged on this regular season, because the playoffs is where they've come up short. Like you said, Parky, they're a deep team. They go pretty deep. It's going to obviously be dependent on health. But they will be judged on what happens in the playoffs. I wouldn't hit the panic button just yet. Parky, another guy I wanted to touch on real quick, because we are going to look at the MVP odds a little bit later when we get stuck into those odds, is Luka Doncic. Now, he's continued his hot start to the season. As we can see right here, he's the first player to score 30-plus points in each of the first 6 games of the season since Michael Jordan in 1986, Parky. But despite that hot streak, the Mavs are just, I think it's 3-3, or there might be 4-3 after yesterday's win. So they're still coming together. It's still early. But defense is also an issue. We touched on defense being an issue for the Brooklyn Nets. It's an issue with the Mavericks for me as well, because they've dropped off a little bit. I think they're 12th in defensive rating this year. Last year, they finished the season 7th in the league. So they've got to improve that a little bit. And I also feel that, I look at this Mavericks team and I don't know how much better they got in the offseason. They obviously, if you remember back to the conference finals against the Warriors, they got absolutely battered on the glass by Kevon Looney in that series. They bring in a guy like JaVale McGee. He's obviously got some championship experience as well. He hasn't had the best start, Park. He's been a little bit sluggish. Is Luka carrying too much of the load?
Oh, Luka's definitely carrying too much of the load offensively. And we've got to mention Jalen Brunson. Losing him, I think, as far as, both ends of the floor, I think cost the Mavericks. And but look, Luka's been amazing. Can we talk about Luka for a little while now? We're going to talk about him now because he's amazing. He's averaging 36.7 points a game, 9.5. What is it? 9.5 rebounds, 8.7 assists per game, and he's averaging 36.7 minutes. So he's scoring a point a minute and going at that rate, which is unbelievable. His field goal percentage is around is right on about 50%. But interestingly, his 3-point percentage is about 22.6, which is very low for him. He's generally a 35 percentage shooter from three, from deep. And I worked out, I did some maths on this. I worked out that if he was shooting at his normal 3-point percentage rate, so around that 35% instead of 22.6, he'd be averaging about 40 points a game at the moment, which is just incredible when you look at that. So he's pulling up the numbers again, as he always does. He was the favorite for the MVP, and I think rightly so.
Yeah, I mean, look, so far, again, through 7 games, he's definitely playing like an MVP favorite. We're going to take a look at those odds in just a minute, Parky, but we're going to start off. We're going to take a look at some of the games odds and some of the games that we've got going on today. 4 games on today. We're going to take a look at 3 of them. We're going to start off with the Chicago Bulls and the Brooklyn Nets. It'll be Jacques Vaughn in charge of the Brooklyn Nets tonight against the Chicago Bulls, and the Nets will be favorites entering this game. $1.83. Chicago Bulls coming in at 203. The line's at -2. The total's at 232. This one's going to be live on NBA League Pass. It should be an interesting game, Parky.
Wow, very, very interesting game, this one. Of course, the Nets beat the Pacers yesterday by 7 points. And the Bulls, on the other hand, are very well rested. They haven't played since Sunday. So they had a loss to Philly on Sunday. So, I actually like the Bulls in this one, getting the 2 points. It could be a bit of a trap game as far as, the Nets with the coaching change. I mean, who knows? Sometimes you get a bit of a sugar hit, when a coach is sacked and they bring in someone new. But as you said, it's the acting coach, Jacques Vaughn, that'll take over tonight. I think they'll probably have Ime Udoka ready to go probably for the next game, or maybe the game after that. So, but as far as this game goes, I think, with the Bulls being well rested, and the Nets playing the night before, I'm going to go with the Bulls in this one.
You know what? I'm going to go the opposing way. I'm going with the Nets, surprisingly. You touched on it right there. You talked about that sort of sugar rush of having an interim coach come through and the players get that sort of, that little bump and that little, little bit more sort of pep in their step. So I'm going to go with the Nets. I think it's going to be close, probably about 7-8 point game. I'm going to stay away from that total though, because that one's just a little bit, it was 232 there. So that one's a little bit, I don't think they're going to get the numbers for that. If anything, I'd probably lean towards the under, but I'll stay away from that one there. But I'm going Nets in a close one, 7-8 points.
Yep, no problem. No, we differ on that one. And like I said, this could be a trap. This could go either way. I just think with the rest that the Bulls have had, and obviously the Nets defense, I mean, just the fact that Udoka might be coming in there, I don't think that's going to change the Nets defense today, but I think the schemes and I think the way, in the future, I think the Nets could improve. But today I'm not so sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a look at the next game. This one should be a fun one here. Golden State Warriors, Miami Heat. Miami Heat favorites in this one here. $1.83. Warriors 202. The line's at -1.5. Totals at 225.5. Also live on NBA League Pass. Parky, what are you seeing from this one?
Yeah, well, I think the Warriors have got the Heat's number. Look, they last played only just recently last Friday. That was in Golden State, and Golden State won 123-110. So, yeah, I just think they've got their number. I think the last 3 games that they've played against the Heat, they've won. I see this one. This one is in Miami, by the way. But no, I think the Golden State Warriors are getting 1.5 points, which basically just ensures you against a 1 point loss if the Heat manage to get up. So yeah, look, I do really like the Warriors in this one. I just do think they're just a better team than the Heat.
Yeah, I agree that they're a better team with the Heat, and the Heat have struggled, and we mentioned, I think it was on the show last week, about how they've sort of struggled to put some points on the board this season as well. So I'd probably lean towards the under, but I actually think the Heat get the win today at home, and I think they get again, it's going to be a close one, maybe a 4-point win, 5-point win, but I just feel like the Heat need to get sort of a big scalp, like the Warriors, to sort of start building some momentum and just sort of climbing back to where they at least feel like they should belong. So I'm going with the Heat in a close one.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And as far as the under-over goes, 8 of the last 9 games between these two teams have gone over.
There you go.
So yeah, but I'd be I haven't got an official pick on this one, and I'd be leaning towards the over. But in saying that, I think the sports books have sort of readjusted, and that totals, I think, was 225.5, which is up there. And when they played on Friday, they scored 233. So, but yeah, I'm staying away from that. Did you like the under in that one still?
I'll stay away from it too, but I would probably lean towards the under just because I feel like they've been inconsistent in putting numbers up on the board as far as the Miami Heat anyway. So
yeah, you're right on that one.
Yeah, I'll stay away from that one there. Next game we're going to take a look at is the Timberwolves and the Phoenix Suns. Suns $1.62. You've mentioned Parky. We've both mentioned they're a great regular season team. Timberwolves coming in here at $2.40. The line's at -3.5. Totals 227. Live on ESPN today. Do the Suns get it done at home, Parky?
Yes, I think they do. Yeah, I think they do. The money's been coming. Interestingly, the money's been coming for the Timberwolves in this game. Initially, that line opened at a flat 5, and now it's 3.5. So yeah, the money has been coming for the Timberwolves, but I actually like the Suns at home. They've covered the line as favourites the last 4 games. So they're a very consistent regular season team. And as we generally always discuss, it's very hard picking games in the regular season of the NBA, but the Suns are relatively consistent with what they do in the regular season. They won 64 games last season, and the way they've started this season, they're on track to do something very similar. So even though the Timberwolves are a tough team to play, I still think that they can cover that 3.5.
I'm going to go. Look, I agree with you. I think the Suns win at home. I think it might even be double digits. I'm going to go 10-point win to the Suns today. What was that total again? Remind me, Parky.
228.
Ooh, that's yeah.
I'm staying away from it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that. I'm like,
I'm staying away.
I'm staying away from that one there too, Parky. But put me down for Suns 10-point win at home.
No problem. I'll do that. That's very similar. I think we've, that's one we agree on out of the 3. But it's always good if we're on different sides there. But and it has just to talk quickly just about the under over. This season has been an unprecedented scoring. I think the average scoring rate per team is about around 114 points, which is the highest it's been ever in the NBA. So we are seeing a lot of high-scoring games. So, yeah, those totals have now been readjusted, and now we're seeing some very big totals in the NBA. Yeah,
well, it's fun to see from a fan's standpoint, that's for sure. Parky, let's take a look at some of these futures odds, and then we're going to get out of here. We're going to start off with the NBA championship odds. And look, Despite the slow start, the LA Clippers are still favorites at $6.50. Boston Celtics $6.75. Warriors $7. Milwaukee Bucks $7.25. Brooklyn Nets at $10. That one's an interesting one there because that could drift out even further depending on how this new coaching adjustment goes. Phoenix Suns are at $11. Denver Nuggets $16. Philadelphia 76ers $17. Miami Heat $20. Grizzlies $21, and then on we go down the line there. $22 for the Cavaliers and the Mavericks, Timberwolves, Pelicans, Raptors, and the Lakers still hovering at around $41. Should be closer to about $410 for me, Parky. But what do you think the money's pretty much spot on right here with the favorites?
Yeah, I'm surprised a little bit as we mentioned earlier. I'm surprised a little bit that the Clippers are still that short at $6.50. I think a lot of people, a lot of punters are putting a lot of faith in the fact that Kawhi is going to come back and, maybe plays 55 to 60 games and, they'll get a decent seed for the playoffs and they'll do well in the postseason. But I'm not so sure. I think that's a little bit short. I still think the value is with the Bucks there at $7.25. I think, that's a pretty good price. I mean, the Nets at $10. I mean, I think they're a bit of a basket case at the moment. I don't see why they're still on that first page of odds that we put on. I would have them on that second page more in the sort of 15-1 sort of category. But to have them at $10 with all the turmoil that's going on, the fact that they don't play any defense and they're already what are they, 2-5? They lose today to the Bulls, which could happen. They're 2-6, with a new coach coming in. So, those odds did surprise me a little bit that how the Clippers are still favorites.
Yeah, you mentioned the Bucks, and I agree with you. That is definitely something that I was going to mention as well. The Bucks being at $7.25, I think there's really good value there because they're going to put their regular season numbers up on the board. They're going to get their wins, but with a team like the Bucks that they're gearing towards the playoffs, right? So that's what accounts for them. They also know what it takes to win. So I think there's good value there for the Bucks at $7.25. So definitely want to keep an eye on. Parky, that's going to do it for us today. You're going to be back on Friday, and I'm pretty sure the NBA soap opera will continue to roll on, and we'll have plenty more to talk about.
Oh yes, no, I'm sure there will be plenty to talk about. And we didn't we haven't touched on our sort of rough day we had Monday too, which we've got to touch on as well. But we had our first push the other day. I think you had the Mavs -9 in that Magic game, and I had the Magic +9, and the Mavs won by exactly 9. So we had a tie. We had our first tie for the year. And basically, you went 2 and 3 with a tie, and I went 1 and 2 with a tie. So our records are, still not too bad. But we'll see if we can improve them today with our 3 picks, and we'll have a look at that on Friday.
Absolutely, we will. All right, Parky, we'll catch you then. This has been another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by topsport.com.au. We're going to catch you guys Friday morning.